I know a lot of you subscribe to the channel are trying to learn and build your skill sets and resumes to either enter a new career in the tech world or switch career paths to tech from something else. Many of you have little to no practical experience in technology aside from your certifications, so I thought I would share a personal story from my past about how I got my first position as a game developer at Disney, even though I had no experience and was actually laughed at by the lead developer at my interview. So the year was something in the mid-2000s. I had just graduated college with a computer science degree, but I was still pretty young-ish. I think I just turned 20 because I finished college fast. I graduated at 19, so of course, as you can imagine, I was still pretty scared of interviewing, and I had imposter syndrome even though I'd done well in school. I knew I wanted to go into game development, which used to be my passion, and I was pretty aware that game dev jobs were crap. There were longer hours than other software developers, working nights and weekends for less pay because more people wanted to do it and it was harder to break into the industry than others, but regardless, I still wanted it. Just for the record, if you're looking to get into programming for the money, don't get involved in game programming. It is pretty well known in the industry between the extra time you put in and the lower salaries. You earn about half of what you would in another industry like finance, healthcare, insurance, etc. That applies to most of the tech industry, not just programming. The jobs generally considered to be more fun pay less, and the jobs that are less fun and less emotionally rewarding generally pay more. Back on topic, I wanted to do game dev. I didn't want to move to California because I knew nobody there, but luckily there's always a few companies nearby if you live near one of the bigger cities in your state. So for me, living in Central Florida, there was EA's Tiburon, there was Nspace, which isn't a thing anymore, and Disney. There's not a lot of options, but it's still better than none. So I had some employment options, but I also had a few hurdles. Number one, I had zero experience. Number two, they were not hiring. Number three, there was no way to contact them to even try. So this is before everything in the world was online. This is like 20 years ago. So if a company has no online employment portal, how do you get in front of a hiring manager? So in comes the person that I'm embarrassed to give credit to, but honestly is the one that got me the first step of the way, my mom. That's right, my mom found one of the executive producers online and talked me up enough that I'm pretty sure he only agreed to interview me to get her to stop talking. I'd love to say the job placement department at my college got me the interview or that I went to a career fair, but no, it was honestly my mom just hustling the guy until he did it to shut her up. This is a true story. Moms can sometimes be your biggest cheerleaders. So after she breaks the ice, we're just gonna call it that, I contact the guy myself and we set up an interview. So the day of the interview is here. I get ready, dress shirt, dress pants, tie. I'm not screwing around. I want this job. I'm not gonna show up with a polo and shorts or jeans. Even though I know that's what the employees wear, I wanna look like I am a prime candidate. I get to the interview, I meet the guy, he's very polite. He explains that there's really not an open position, but he's willing to sit with me, ask questions about my skills and experience, or lack of experience because I didn't have any at this point. And this way, when there's an opening, I might get a call for a second interview. So the guy I meet with is an executive producer. So he handles stuff like brand coordination with all the famous IPs, delegating teams to work on certain projects, writing the game bibles and documentation, getting them produced and distributed, since this was almost 20 years ago and most games were sold physically, not digitally like they are now. So he's not really the CEO, but he's basically the guy that runs the show regardless. I show him some of my work from college. Fortunately, I was an obsessive workaholic, so while I was in college, I wrote an RPG engine from scratch in whatever free time I had in addition to the normal college projects, which was enough to get him interested even though they didn't work on RPGs at that studio. I know writing an RPG engine seems trivial in today's age since you can just use RPG Maker or Unity to make an RPG nowadays, but this was before all of that was an option. So imagine having a blank window and turning that into an RPG from the ground up with no third-party apps or plugins or resources. It was a lot of work. It was really the effort that impressed him, not the specific thing itself. So halfway through the interview, the lead developer for the main project team comes in. Honestly, I don't remember if he was called in or if he had to interrupt the interview for something important, but he also takes a look at my code and my resume, and he's slightly intrigued, but then gets to my education and laughs. Someone laughing at your resume is not a good thing. So what he thought was funny is that I paid $40,000 in college tuition to try and get a job making video games. I really want to drive this point home to you out there, especially those of you that feel like you have imposter syndrome because you can't afford a prestigious degree. The lead developer at the job that I was trying to get thought my college degree was a bad thing, and before you get mad at him, it took me a while to realize that he was actually right. See, at first I thought maybe he just went to a different school and he was just shit-talking the college I went to, but the honest truth is I could have learned the same thing from a community college for a fraction of the cost, or even better, I could have gone to the library, checked out some coding books, taught myself, and saved $40,000. It was not my college degree that they were impressed by, it was the fact that I stayed up nights and weekends and coded and built something that I was passionate about. That was the part that was my saving grace, my effort and my work ethic. Ultimately, they still didn't even have a job available for me, but I wasn't about to take no for an answer. I was persistent and I was ready to do whatever it took to get my foot in the door. I told them that over time I would show them I could be an extremely valuable asset to them, and if they brought me on, they would be glad they did it later. I offered to work for free doing QA testing until they had a position at the company. Yes, I said free, and before you get angry and leave, let me explain that this is actually strategic and the story does have a happy ending. Just hear me out. Free is a tactic that they use in marketing all the time. Free ebooks, free gifts with your order, free samples. This was my way of offering a free sample in order to show them value and sell them something later. Myself. They were impressed by my persistence and determination and agreed to bring me on in the QA department starting the following week. They had nothing to lose. So the story doesn't end there, obviously. As some of you may or may not know, the QA department, quality assurance department, is not where you want to work. Even if you are paid, it is very low pay, and you try to break software by doing dumb stuff over and over and over again for hours, test out all kinds of possibilities, and write documentation on your findings. So nowadays, QA departments have been drastically reduced in today's agile development ecosystem because companies just release broken software knowing that it's buggy, and since it's constantly being updated and patched regularly, they're able to release it faster and with less cost and have the users basically do the QA for them. Back in the day though, they had more robust QA departments and it was like the entry level of the software developer ecosystem. So I worked in the QA department for honestly probably about a week until they realized they were short on level designers for a new Spy Kids game, so they said, hey you, do you want to do level design? Which of course I did because QA sucks and level design is way more fun, so I got promoted after about a week, still unpaid though, and I did level design for Spy Kids, not my dream project, but hey, it's better than nothing. About a week or so later, the level design stuff I was working on was wrapped up and the executive producer calls me into his office to discuss the next steps that he saw for me. And it was that time that I was offered a paid assistant producer role, working directly under him, not directly programming games, but rather assisting the business and operations side, documentation, management, and more. See, I told you that there was a happy ending, so I'm hoping there's a few key things that you take away from this story. Number one, in the tech world, you don't need to go to college. Sure, it helps, but the most important thing is being motivated, driven, and putting in the work, knowing what you need and showing that you're capable. That's more important than the $40,000 piece of paper. Number two, just because there's not a job for you doesn't mean you should give up. You either find a way or you make a way, and you don't take no for an answer. Number three, be a good salesperson for yourself. Be confident in your value and align yourself with people that also know and appreciate your value, even if it's sometimes your mom. Number four, be willing to accept an absolute crap position to get your foot in the door and be appreciative of it. Put the work in, hard work, extra hours, smile on your face, and respect your coworkers and superiors. Don't do it because you love to be a suck-up, do it because you know that's what it takes to succeed when you're new to the field and you want to be on the fast track to grow. Remember the old saying, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So I'm sure some of you were upset when I said I worked for free in order to get my foot in the door, but I'll tell you this, if my free work was worth $500 per week after taxes, that would be about $1,000 for the 2 weeks of unpaid work that I did. A $1,000 loss to get my foot in the door of the tech world was way cheaper than the $40,000 I spent on school, and if they never offered me a paid position, I still had that experience working for them that I could put on my resume and make it easier to get the next job. But if I didn't try to get that job and be willing to take a loss, who knows how long it would have taken to find the next job opportunity. The work for free tactic almost always works, by the way. I'm not saying you have to personally go out and do it yourself. I'm just saying that this is what I did and this is how it worked out for me. But the work for free tactic, your boss will usually feel guilty after a couple weeks and offer you a paid position so they don't have to feel the guilt anymore, and they usually respect that you hustled to get the job as well. It's not like you're just working for free for years. It's not like that. So I hope this inspired you to go out there and get your dream job and realize you don't need an Ivy League degree or some special magic secret. You can do anything that you put your mind to if you focus on the goal, push yourself, put the work in, and don't give up. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you as always in the next one.